Well, Hamish, just your ties to Royal Dornoch. I mean, are you born and bred in the town?
I'm a Dornoch, born and bred man. I started playing golf at the club as a junior. As you know, my father was quite a good golfer and pushed us, all of my siblings and myself, into golf. With my sisters reluctantly, but with myself and my brother, we were both mad keen. And
what sort of era would that be then?
That would be the early 60s for me. I can remember the Stree when it was a 9-hole course, long before it was developed into the wonderful course that it is now. And with further development coming up on the course, looking to improve it up to hopefully a very similar standard to our championship course. But that's quite a bit in future. But in the early days, we had some wonderful holes down there. The second hole used to be one of my favourite holes. You were hitting down from an elevated tee, down through the fairway, and quite similar to the setup in the first hole at St Andrews. He had hit over the burn to land in the green, which was just over the burn. Then the caravan sight came along, and the hole got realigned because people were battering golf balls into the caravan site, and town council were not happy with this. So the elevated tee then came down to ground level, just almost opposite where the caravan site started. So there was very little chance of putting a ball into the caravan site. The hole changed then from a par 4 down to par 3. But that was by far my favourite hole in the course in the early days. We also had another couple of changes to do in the more recent times. The 6th hole was a short hole, but in close proximity to the main road down to the caravan site and the beach. And balls were once again hitting traffic, bouncing on the road into gardens. So that hole was taken out altogether. Other delights on the golf course in the Stree when I was growing up was the burn. It was always a challenge to try and get the ball over the burn on the 16th and then across the road on the 16th. And it was always a challenge. You were always saying to your pals, oh, I managed to get over the road in one go and the ball didn't go in the burn neither. You know, stuff like this.
So it sounds like health and safety was a bit lax in those days as far as the golf course at the Stree was concerned.
Indeed, yeah. There was, I don't think even greenkeepers wore hats in those days. You're right.
And on the, you mentioned about your father being a bit of a golfer, but I mean, he was top notch locally, wasn't he, in the Highlands?
There was a group of them, local golfers. Duncan Murray Barrel, he was a greenkeeper here. Jim Macrae, known as Tight, for obvious reasons. My father, John George Sutherland, they were all crack golfers. My father won the Shield a couple of times and silver medal about 4 times, I think, in the Carnegie Shield week. He also won the first ever King's Cup down at the Nairn Golf Club. He also won the County Cup a couple of times, and they had a great team in the northern counties. The same names again, and in more modern times, and I'm talking about the 50s, they had a real good team with Donald Grant, local butcher, Tight, Barrel, and my father. All of these gentlemen had nicknames. They were known locally. My father's name was Kearney, that was his nickname, and I've already mentioned Tight and Barrel. So they were always referred to by their nickname.
And was golf a huge part of your life growing up in Dornoch?
Football, golf. When you're growing up in Dornoch as a youngster, there was no picture houses. there was the West Church Hall that occasionally had a film show on. So if you didn't golf, if you didn't fish, if you didn't swim in the sea or play football as a youngster or have a bike, there was not much else for you to do.
Yeah.
So it was a good, healthy outdoor upbringing. And golf was one of the elements of that.
And has the town changed much in your lifetime? I mean, you've seen it all these decades, or is it still retained the charm that it's always had?
The centre of the town, certainly, the old established buildings are stone-built houses, sandstone.
Mm-hmm.
They're still got character. But the periphery of the town is expanding. We've got 1, 2, 3 developments currently nearly at fruition, which has increased the population of the town by probably 100%. And once again, it is the elder generation that are moving in, retired folks. Not too many of the youngsters buying these properties. But generally, obviously, it is an attractive place, or all of these folks wouldn't be coming up here. We have the beach, we have the golf course, and a few hotels in the town. So it is a nice, and the climate, of course. There must be a reason why there's a settlement here in the first place. So if you've got reasonable weather, you've got water supply source, and plenty of materials, you're going to have a healthy sort of community.
You've been blessed with the topography for this incredible golf course, the championship course in particular. But in your time, have you seen it evolve?
Absolutely. Mainly due to the quality of the courses, due to greenkeeping machinery, the changes and the advancement in technology, and health and safety, agricultural products, fertilizers, and also the club having the revenue to be able to purchase and maintain the courses to the high standards that we're already at.
As you touched on the revenue, is that one of the biggest changes in your lifetime? It sounds as if when you were a younger golfer, it was very, very different as far as the finances were concerned.
Yeah, without a doubt. The revenue through visitor income is tremendous. In the old days, or early, pre-72, 73, the club was always struggling to raise finances for any projects. And it was mainly nose to the grindstone to keep the place up and running. Generous donations from members, and going even further back to when the membership was mainly supported by well-to-do folks from the south of England. And to put it in perspective, the AGMs of the club were held in London, not locally. And the captain of the club didn't always live locally. There was a convener that ran the club in his absence. So finance definitely improved hugely after the American invasion, after we started getting all the tourists coming over.
And that money has been ploughed back into the golf course and the facilities.
That's it. That is our number one asset, is what's out there. So if we can maintain it to the high standard we've got up to now through using the machinery that is available, that's the vision, one of the visions of the club.
Have you noticed a change in the presentation of the championship course in the years that you've been involved?
Yes, indeed. We've always prided ourselves with the standards of our bunkers, revetting them. Now that takes a lot of turf, so to maintain that, we have a turf nursery. So we have ample reserves of turf to maintain that, and they do it in a 5-year rotating cycle. of bunkers. The greens, we have, they're huge out there. Some of them are 50 yards by 30 yards, which is quite a size. 1 club, 2 clubs, 3 clubs front to back. So the machinery they've got, all the Toro mowers, irons. In the old days you used to have a roller. Now you have a sit-on machine that goes side to side. It's would love a go in one. And they get the greens up to a real good finish. No, the standard of the course and the condition of the course from when I started till now were like chalk and cheese.
But I see you're wearing the 400th anniversary of, well, the history of golf in Dornoch dating back to, well, 1600 and something.
1616. So in 2016, the club decided that they would celebrate, and it was a year-long celebration from the captain at the time driving in until the next captain putting out. That whole year there was something on from spring right the way through to the winter. We invited all the Royal clubs to come over or send representation, and we had the biggest group of Royal clubs at any location ever here. We organised golf at our neighbouring clubs for them to showcase Tain, Golspie, Brora, and that was looked on favourably by the members of Golspie, Brora and Tain, as well as giving them a round here on the championship and the Strui. We had a big marquee down in the lower links on the other side of the Strui course, where we had a dinner, speeches, R&A people, members of, as I say, I think it was about, don't quote me on this, but I think it was about 62 Royal clubs appeared. Thoroughly enjoyed themselves with the golf in our neighbouring clubs, and we also organised trips to distilleries and places of interest for them. So it all went really well, but it was really stressful for everybody involved. There was a committee of 4 of us that chased everything up.
And now there's another major landmark on the horizon in 2027.
27, yes. I'm sure we'll be tapping into the experience that we gained for the 400 years and put that to good use.